What's up, you guys? Alec and Alex here.
Hey guys.
And today we want to tell you guys how we rank our favorite trading card games.
Yeah, so we've got a list of card games that we have played. This will not include some of the less known ones. Like some of my personal favorites will not be in this list, sadly.
And we're gonna leave out any really old card games that have just completely fallen off the face of the earth. So that means no Chaotix. That means no Neopets.
Okay, no, Neopets is only getting a card game like right now, though.
It had a card game at one point.
I don't think that's true. No one knows
Anyway, we're just gonna see where that takes us.
Yep, so let's start with the top of the list, and we can go with my personal favorites, Digimon TCG.
All right, starting off strong.
So if you know anything about Digimon, which many of us did look at Digimon when we were children, it was a television series and had multiple video games over time.
It wasn't just a spin-off of Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, almost everyone should remember Agumon, which was, I think, the most popular Digimon for years.
Yeah, I mean, it's the face of the franchise. And in the Digimon card game, you can take Digimon like Agumon, build a deck around them, and the whole concept is to evolve Agumon into his higher forms like Greymon, Metal Greymon, into War Greymon. And then you can attack into your opponent's security, that's like their shields. You knock them all down, and you swing one more time to end the game.
Yeah, that's a very normal system for lots of card games. Nothing is truly crazy about that. I think what makes Digimon really stand out is its memory system. You can imagine a number line in between you and your opponent that goes from, let's say, 10 to -10 on your opponent's side. And every move you make pushes that memory gauge closer and closer to your opponent's side. If it goes over 0, your turn is going to end and your opponent's turn is going to begin. And whatever memory you gave them as your last move is what they start with.
But it's really cool because you can decide to play like a high cost card to try and, get an advantage in the board state. But the more memory you give your opponent, the more cards they can play. So Crace is kind of like push and pull kind of game flow. The more you do, the more they can do. There's a lot of like pushes and clapbacks in the Digimon card game, which makes it really fun to play.
Yeah, and the game is not so explosive. There's usually a ramp up phase to the game where the first few turns happen rather quickly. So you don't have to overthink it when you get started. You just play cards and see what happens.
So I think I already know the answer to this question. Where do you think we should rank Digimon?
I'm gonna give it an A, not an S.
Not S?
No.
I actually agree with that. The only reason I can't give Digimon an S ranking is because my favorite deck is not the best deck of the format, which is Mastermon. Mastermon deserves to be tier 1 in every format. I don't care what the power creep says.
I was only not giving it an S, guys, because the Digimon card game lacks many alternative formats.
I've played in a lot of Digimon events. I want to say I've played in at least 6 different regionals, mixed. Some are local, and some are online. It just depended on where I was at the time. The organized play scene in Digimon it's decent. It's decent. Lately I found it to be incredibly difficult to actually enter into regionals and events like it. A lot of them are online. They fill up fast, and we recently added store regionals where stores could host their own regionals, and we tried to sign up for one of those and it filled up day 1 within a few hours. One of the biggest selling points to Digimon versus some other card games that we're going to talk about is Digimon actually has alternative rarities for the same cards and alt arts of the same cards. So the best decks in the format are not that much more expensive than kind of a mid-tier deck because cards come in multiple rarities, and over time, like many cards get a reprint or an alternate art at some point that'll just drive down the prices of those cards. There are a few exceptions. That's the case in every game, but for the most part, it's not that expensive of a game.
You can't go wrong with your price point if you're gonna play Digimon.
So our final rating for Digimon is
A tier.
Okay.
Are we doing the same thing?
I saw your hand move, so I did it too.
All right, cool.
So our next game is Battle Spirits.
Yes, that's like Bandai's flagship card game, isn't it?
In Japan.
Yeah, in Japan.
But Battle Spirits did come to the United States not long ago, and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, so Battle Spirits has actually had 2 waves in the US. It was in the original form, which was just called Battle Spirits, but they recently came out with a new version of the game, which is still kind of the same thing, called Battle Spirits Saga, which was their rebranding and introducing the game to the Western audience.
A lot of the same artworks, but new revamped effects. So the base gameplay of Battle Spirits utilizes a unique mana system in their, what they call cores.
Yep.
You gain one additional, or one or two additional cores every turn?
It should be one core per turn.
You gain additional cores every turn, and you can spend those cores to both play your cards and activate their effects.
It's so interesting because, yeah, you spend cores to play cards, but then you can spend an additional core or two or three or however many and put them on the cards. The more cores a card has, that can help it unlock abilities that that you only could use if you had a certain number of cores on the card.
Moving the cores around to your different cards, and even interacting with the soul core, which I think is unique to Battle Spirits Saga. I don't believe that was in the original Battle Spirits.
I don't think so either.
Like, of all your cores, there's one that's even more special than all the others, and that can give you even different effects for different cards, and it made for a very engaging gameplay. The Battle Spirits game, I think, is just very, very solid. So of course it has to be an S rank game.
Oh yeah, sure. I can't give it S rank. Yeah, it's a good looking game. The art is great. The gameplay loop is pretty good. My problem with it, though, is that nobody else wants to play.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue with Battle Spirits. I honestly, to no fault of the game itself, Battle Spirits Saga came out in the West, and it kind of fell flat immediately.
Yeah, I mean, Bandai made some good moves with the game. They introduced cash prizes for a tournament, which, by the way, I think they could only do that because they are the sole owners of that property, and not many other card games can even do that kind of thing.
That's true. This is one of the few games on this list that isn't attached to some like anime property or something like that. So where should we rank Battle Spirits? A game that we both agree is interesting and fun, but it's incredibly hard to find people to play with.
I would give Battle Spirits I kind of want to say B tier, but that might be too high.
If you can't find people to play with, I'm going to give it a C. If it had an online client of some kind,
that would be pretty good. I would like
Some of the games on the list have online clients, and when you have one of those, it's hard to be any less than B. Because it doesn't, I'm putting it in C tier.
I can agree with that. If it had an online client, at least you'd have people to play with because you could play online.
The Yu-Gi-Oh card game. Where do we start?
God, yeah, I mean, it's based on one of the most well-known anime series across the world, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Everybody's played Yu-Gi-Oh. Even people who didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh played Yu-Gi-Oh. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
But ranking Yu-Gi-Oh feels hard because the game is so old and it's had many kind of evolutions over time. It feels like it's weird to sum up all of Yu-Gi-Oh into one thing.
Should we maybe do a different video one day where we just break down the eras of Yu-Gi-Oh and rate those?
That would be interesting. But for now, we'll stick to the conglomerate that is Yu-Gi-Oh. So what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh deck?
I used to say Legendary Fisherman, but I would also want to say Phoenix. But I played for so many years, I feel like there's at least two other decks I would also want to say.
Yeah.
I love them all.
I'm much the same, where my favorite decks kind of changes with the era we're talking about. Because on one hand, it's Gadgets, but Gadgets had their heyday in like the Edison format and have not really done anything since.
Oh, you remind me of Frogs just now.
Right? I mean, I love Plunder Patrol. You know, they came out in this, in the kind of the Link era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which I would say is very modern, but it feels like we're in a post-Link era right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's very confusing, but I think we both could say we probably have around 5 or 6 favorite decks.
Yeah, definitely.
And we've played Yu-Gi-Oh! For so long, and we can critique the game left and right. We do this on this channel all the time. But the fact that we keep going tells me that we cannot rank Yu-Gi-Oh! Lowly. Like, we just can't.
No, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cannot be ranked low in any shape or form, mostly because even if I didn't personally like Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, there are a lot of people who would say otherwise.
Because, you know, there are some people who might say, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! is a D-tier game. But like, well, Battle Spirits doesn't have a player base in it, and we put it at C. So
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a player base. It has shown to have staying power over decades of time. Well, 2 decades, I guess.
We've been in the 25th anniversary for years now.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not going anywhere. And because it's such a powerful property with a unique gameplay element style to it.
No other game has the cojones to play like we do. I'm putting it at A tier.
But what about Yu-Gi-Oh!'s like organized play, is there anything that falls short there?
Yu-Gi-Oh is, I think, the best example of organized play we have in TCGs today.
I guess so.
At the sheer scale of Yu-Gi-Oh events, I mean, the only thing that comes close to it is Pokemon. And yes, we don't have cash prizing. You might say our prizing sucks.
But aren't Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments almost cheap as heck to get into?
I mean, our tournaments aren't very expensive. You get packs when you enter. I mean, there's guaranteed value in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. Yu-Gi-Oh's organized play does have some issues. I think we hate the time rules in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm still gonna go ahead and call it an A-rank game. There's this, I can't think of any rank beneath that. I won't give it S rank just because I don't love where we are currently, but it has to be an A rank game.
It has to be, because I mean, it keeps pulling me back and I keep trying to quit. How about Cardfight Vanguard?
Oh my gosh. Weirdly enough, this is another game that has gone through kind of eras of time very deliberately.
I can't even keep up. I only played a little bit of Vanguard.
Cardfight Vanguard, for you guys who don't know, it's based on an anime series of the same name. The anime has had multiple iterations, a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
And how Vanguard works, you have a deck master. No. You have a Vanguard. And like in a Digimon, you level your Vanguard up, and as you level your Vanguard, it allows you to play stronger and stronger rear guards, or monsters you play around your Vanguard.
Yeah, like they have zones in Vanguard, but they're circles.
Yeah, not rectangles. They have these circular zones where you place your Vanguard in the middle and your rear guards around, and you have supporters in the back row, attackers in the front row, and you use this combination of cards to whittle down your opponent's, what are they called in Vanguard? Shields? Are they called shields in Vanguard?
No, I don't think so. What are they
I
called?
forget what they're called in Vanguard, but they have their own like security shield system that you have to attack through.
Yep.
And they can trigger effects, yada, yada, yada. It's actually a very fun gameplay loop because battle is so intrinsic to the Cardfight Vanguard formula.
That is true.
You're not burning your opponent out. You're not really trying to stall them. You're trying to either destroy their creatures through battle or swing through all that security or shields or whatever you call them.
Yeah, there's some alternative win conditions in the Vanguard card game, but most of the time you're just trying to finish off all their shields. And you're right, it is shields.
You know, Yu-Gi-Oh no longer has an anime anymore, but Vanguard, for pretty much its entire run, has kept an anime. And it gives you a reason to always return to the game. If you find the anime interesting, you'll play the game. If you play the game, you'll probably watch the anime. It works hand in hand. Are you hearing me, Konami? That's not what this video's about. That's not what this video's about.
Okay, but I'll say my favorite thing about Vanguard was the kind of frantic playstyle. Even if you're not doing well in the gameplay loop, generally you are still rewarded for just attacking your opponent.
And that brings me to what I love about Vanguard is the trigger system. Because when you attack with like your Vanguard and your other creatures, you draw cards off the top of your deck, and there are triggers on those cards. They can give you extra shield attacks. They can heal your shields. They can boost your monster's ability power. Like, I love the triggers because there's always this random chance that things get turned on their head. And if you were counting your cards properly, you could predict when you felt like your triggers were going to hit, and you could play around them or your opponent's triggers.
Yeah, there was a lot of ways to manipulate that entire system, and I think they did a great job at making the different archetypes, I think they're called nations in Vanguard, feel very distinct from one another.
So where does Vanguard land for us?
I would give Vanguard, I almost want to give it an A.
You want to give it A? I want to put Vanguard in the B tier, and that's only because Vanguard has done these very hard reboots multiple times now for their card game.
But you know what's really cool about Vanguard? It has a game, it has a simulator.
It does?
Yeah, a couple years ago they came out with a simulator for the overdress cards.
Oh, you talking the Switch game?
The Switch game.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go give it a C tier then.
Oh my God, you hated that?
I remember that game. Do you know how that game works?
Not really.
So I forget the name of the game. It's called like Cardfight Vanguard something days.
Dog Days?
I think that's something else, Alex.
Oh, no.
Anyway, the game comes with all the cards in the game up to a point. And then every time a new set comes out, they will be added to the game.
Good.
As DLC, you have to pay for.
Oh.
Yeah. So you pay full price for the game, and then to get any new cards, you have to then buy an expansion for all those cards. That is literally my least favorite way to do a card game simulator. This is the only time where I want to de-rank a game because of its simulator.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You know what? I want to give us a C tier now.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in C, man. And I don't want to do it
wasn't
like
great.
that, but
That
that's
wasn't
not a
great.
good look. You gotta work on that. Our next game will be the illustrious Magic the Gathering.
So like, you know, Magic is the game, right? Like,
It's kind of the precursor to everything on this list, right? I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh was based on it. Any game that has a mana or like some type of system like that is based on Magic.
the life and shield system is from Magic.
Magic kind of started everything. So so the best way to describe Magic is card games in its like simplest, purest form. It's a very slow and methodical game because you do nothing unless you have those lands, and you get to play only one per turn. And while there is a strategy that's called like mana ramping, where you can kind of, instead of building up just one mana a turn, maybe you go through 2, then you build up 3 and 4. You build them up even faster on a ramp.
I would say so. But after you get from that point, Magic becomes this chaos pit of strategies. There's all kinds of things in Magic the Gathering.
I mean, it is like the oldest trading card game that I can even think of, and that comes with a very rich set of cards. But it operates on a rotation, right? As far as their like standard format goes, you only use a certain set of cards in competitive play.
That is true.
That brings us to kind of the major kind of like winning point for Magic is their commander format, where I mean, it's a 100 card decks, but you can use any card in the game.
But only one of it.
Yeah, but only at one copy.
Unless it's lands.
Of course, unless they're land. It's kind of hard to just talk about Magic without mentioning the commander format because it's become so much of what Magic is today.
It's actually a bit of a problem. I've heard a lot of discourse that Magic the Gathering might be suffering because of the popularity of its commander format. That people don't want to play normal Magic.
Well, I know Wizards is making some money, so Wizards isn't suffering.
They're not suffering.
I know if you're not a commander fan, then this might be a little difficult for you. But I mean, I got into Magic because of Commander. I'm sure a lot of other players did.
Same.
You pick a character, a guy, gal, ghost, villain, and you make that person your commander. And that commander dictates what the other 99 cards in your deck can be, because it's a 100 card deck.
Yep.
And kind of anything goes at that point. I've seen all sorts of infinite combos, and I know Yu-Gi-Oh players relax. In Magic, infinite combos happen. That usually does mean someone wins the game. That's how that goes. But it's a casual thing in Commander format. Just people get infinite draws, infinite mana,
Infinite life.
They'll make infinite tokens,
Infinite attacks.
and that's how the game is played. If you set that aside and look at the fun you get to have, right now Magic has been doing their Universes Beyond kind of system where they bring in major IPs that are not card game related, and they just turn them into Magic cards. I got in with the Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond set. I love playing with those cards.
It was pretty cool, honestly. They reimagined them in neat ways too.
They just did a sneak peek for their Marvel Universes Beyond product.
I do want to see what those look like finally.
And I'm looking forward to the Final Fantasy Universes Beyond product, because that's on its way too.
I'm also make it easy on all of us. It's an S tier game.
S tier?
Yep.
If any game had to bump Yu-Gi-Oh, that's cool. I'll give Magic an S tier.
Okay, so I guess the next one's gonna be One Piece.
The One Piece TCG, the game I've played 4 times.
Wait, that might be the same for me.
Oh, okay, then we're good. We're on the same page then.
It's actually not a bad game at all. It's another Bandai game, and judging by the name, it's based on the One Piece manga and anime series.
One Piece isn't too different from Commander in that you pick a captain. Your pirate captain dictates how much life you have and what kind of cards you can put into your deck. What they have is their Don system. That's their resource system, where every turn you flip over more of these Don cards, these energy. Don't ask me what a Don is. I don't get it. No one can explain it to me. But you attach them to your characters, which enables them they enable you to play characters and use their abilities.
Yeah, so it's actually not so different from Battle Spirit's core system, except it's not even close to being permanent. When Battle Spirit's cores would stay on your creatures between turns, but Dawn stays in the Dawn deck, you play it out onto the board and you put it underneath your characters, but then the Dawn falls off by the start of your next turn, so you can reuse it again.
Oh, that's cool. So you reallocate your resources every turn, so you can stay flexible with how the game state is developing. One Piece is a major IP, so you can have captains like Luffy, Ace, one of my favorites, Crocodile.
Arlong.
I'm really looking forward to Buggy being a captain in that game. I don't play a lot of One Piece, as you've heard, I've only played 4 times. But if Buggy the Clown ever becomes a captain, I'll be there.
I told everybody I wasn't going to play One Piece until they gave me Fishman cards and a Fishman captain. They did it twice, so yeah, I'm playing that now. I don't play too often, but I keep my Hody Jones deck updated. And yes, he's not the best One Piece character ever, but hey, I'll take what I can get. The cards were given to me by friends.
The fact is, One Piece brought a lot of people into the card game space that hadn't played card games in decades, and that just shows how popular One Piece is.
Yep.
That brings me to the downside of the One Piece TCG product. One Piece cards are such a hot commodity, they kind of just fly off shelves immediately.
And players are frustrated.
There have been shortages many times. People will buy out, they'll buy out product before anyone else can get to them. The prices of singles are not fun unless you're specifically trying to build the cheapest things you can possibly be building in One Piece. And it's a tough game to deal in singles with, but it's a tough game to deal in sealed product too. There's no easy answer when your game is in such high demand. Product can't be easily available. Though I have heard that recently it's gotten better. Once again, as a Digimon player, I really wish it didn't get better, but it did. It did anyway.
Remember, One Piece can't hurt us anymore. It already took our players.
That's true, it's over. So, One Piece, where are we gonna rate it?
B.
I'm putting it at a B tier. It probably should be an A tier if someone else were doing this rating, but we're doing this rating. So it's B for us.
I'm gonna be a harsher critic for it.
That's right.
Someone needs to be.
Yeah, because it's not Digimon. Let's move on to the next game. Pokemon TCG. Do we have to explain what Pokemon is? So get this. This guy named Ash, he goes on a journey. And what's he find? A Pikachu. The Pikachu's kind of mean to him, but then he saves it from a pack of, Spearow. And he saves it, and then the Pikachu becomes his friend, and that's what the card game is all about.
It has nothing to do with that. The Pokemon TCG is more about the aspect of collecting and trading Pokemon that you see in the Pokemon video games than what you really see in the anime series. Our game uses a lot of familiar faces. Characters from both the video games and the anime show up in the card game. You can have any Pokemon from all over the mythos of Pokemon in your deck. But of course you are limited by, I believe...
The rotation?
The rotation of the formats. You can only use so many cards in competitive play. But Pokemon also has at least 1 or 2 alternative formats you can play as well, like the Gym Leader format. Gym Leader Challenge is a Highlander format that marries you to one color of card. It's a lot like Commander format in Magic, just with the Pokemon feel.
Speaking of being like Magic, that's actually my biggest criticism of Pokemon. To me, it feels like a slower game because you play your 1 energy per turn. Your Pokemon kind of can't do anything unless you have energy.
That is true.
And I know you can search energy, and I want to say there's some type of ramping in Pokemon too, but it just seems kind of dull to me because you can have a bench of Pokemon, but you only ever have 1 active Pokemon at a time. So you engage in these kind of 1v1 fights with your opponent. And you try to get an advantage, you try and knock their guy out without getting yours knocked out. But while thematically it makes sense, I do kind of find it boring.
It's supposed to be a back and forth between Pokemon where you knock out theirs, then they come back with something fresh and powerful and knock yours out. But what actually ends up being the case is both players are trying to build up the bench of Pokemon and their active Pokemon as soon as possible by evolving them to their 2nd or 3rd stages higher, like in typical Pokemon form. But also collect the energy cards they need under the right Pokemon to have devastating Pokemon that can start one-shotting your opponent's Pokemon before your opponent can do that to you. And that's actually how it goes a lot of the time. One person builds up faster than the other one and then start running through the other player's Pokemon and winning. So
I mean, I don't doubt there's a lot of strategy in Pokemon. Typically, when a card game is slower, there's a lot of room to kind of maneuver and like try to outthink your opponent. So I don't doubt that there is real strategy in Pokemon. It just has not been engaging enough for me. And I have played Pokemon more than 10 times. The major kind of boon of Pokemon, which doesn't do anything for me, but I guess it does something for the game in general, is that it's Pokemon. It's stupid popular. The collector scene in Pokemon is gigantic. I mean, there was that Logan Paul situation with the Charizard. Cards are being sold for thousands, some for like $1 million. Like, that's Pokemon, and no other TCG is quite like it.
Other card games do it too, but Pokemon is just so huge. So every increased rarity of a card increases the value of that card by such an obscene amount. So like a card can have 3 different alt arts in a single set, and the one that's the rarest can be worth hundreds, maybe thousands.
If you're trying to make money off card games, there's probably no better card game to like try to make your fortune with than Pokemon, though I heard One Piece players they can be pretty enterprising themselves.
But Pokemon is still #1 for moving high value cards.
But is it #1 in our ranking? Where do we put the Pokemon TCG? The game that, while very popular, we have called kind of boring.
I think I'd only give it is that a C?
I'm calling it C tier, man. Like, I get it. I get it, man. It's just not, this is my ranking. I'm putting it in a C.
No, this is my ranking. I'm putting it at B.
Wow.
I think there's better than that because Pokemon has not done enough wrong for it to be a C tier game.
The wrong is it being boring, but
you're boring.
That's just my opinion. I'll leave it alone. We'll be divided on B versus C. It gets a B-.
Okay, so next up we've got Grand Archive. So that is a recent card game.
It exists. I know for a fact that it is around. I've seen it places. So how do we describe Grand Archive?
Grand Archive is pretty unique in card games, where a big part of the game is playing with a deckmaster type character.
Yeah.
And that character defines all the cards that are going to be in your deck, and also a separate kind of extra deck as well.
I swear, everything just sounds like Commander now.
And what you can do is, the rest of your cards in your deck are like other characters or creatures.
What are they called, followers?
Or followers, yeah. And you're using those to fight out with your opponent's followers. But what you can do for your main person is use your secondary extra deck to play cards that...
The artifact deck.
The artifact deck,
yeah.
Thank you.
We meant to say it's called the material deck.
Yes.
I think one of my favorite aspects of Grand Archive is, you know how in most Commander-esque games, the character you choose to be your leader, they decide the colors you can play in your deck, but that's not how it works in Grand Archive. You can actually choose, you can just choose your color combinations yourself. Your character does not have to define that. And there are just, so you'll see this people running the same character as their leader, but then they'll be running different colors. Some colors might be considered better for that character and their strategy, but if you think you know what you're doing, if you think that running this character instead of as like a blue, you want to run them as a green, power to you. That's a very real thing you can do.
Yeah, so the colors in Grand Archive do also strongly affect the gameplay style of the characters in the game. So even if the Grand Archive started with only like 4 characters at first, or was it 3?
It wasn't many.
Yeah, it was only a couple, but each one had 2 colors you could build them off of, which doubled the amount of potential decks you could build.
So Grand Archive, how do we want to rank it? I know we both only played a handful of times, but maybe this discussion will make us play it some more. Where should we put it?
Definitely D tier, yeah, D.
Wow.
Okay, so hear me out. I didn't love Grand Archive.
I like the art on the cards. They had a very novel anime style.
Problem is that, well, I don't love its gameplay style. I just don't like that too much. And it doesn't help that not many other people want to try to make me like it either because there's no one to play with.
Like the more niche the card game is, the harder it is to just go anywhere and play it. You really have to cultivate and build your own group for games like Grand Archive. As Much as I hate to say it, I'm gonna have to go with Alex. I'm gonna put it at my D tier, not because I hate it, just because I really have not had the opportunity to play it more to like it more.
So our final card game is Union Arena.
That's right, a game that we have only played the demo for.
But we both did play it, and that's why it's on this list.
So a rundown of Union Arena, it's another Bandai card game, but the strategies of the game are different anime that Bandai has licensed. So like what we played with Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yep.
And what was the other deck was Bleach.
They had Bleach and they also had Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, it had Hunter x Hunter, and I believe they've announced that this game's going to have
Code Geass, I know.
Yeah, Code Geass, I think Full Metal Alchemist.
Did you hear that? I didn't hear that one.
Well, I maybe want to have heard that one, but you can imagine a lot of your favorite anime will make their way to Union Arena.
Yep.
The gameplay, how do we describe Union Arena's gameplay?
Union Arena's gameplay is a lot of what you typically like in Bandai card games. There's a back and forth style to it where your cards are trying to wear down your opponent's shields or security or life cards.
Hit them, and then attack. They're prize cards.
Yeah, you just want to hit those prize cards and go for a game after that. It's really simple stuff, honestly.
But, I mean, I still had a pretty good time. I know you didn't get to play the deck you wanted to play.
I did not. I wanted to play Bleach.
But you got JJK just like me.
I got JJ Trash.
So, where should we rank Union Arena with the novel double energy system?
Well, I honestly think its gameplay isn't bad. I don't think it's good yet because it's still just starting, just coming out. I need to see more of what they're planning on doing in the future because I worry that cards in this game are pretty samey, but even between like anime types. I haven't seen anything that says, wow, that's unique to this one anime series in Union Arena. No, they all look the same to me.
I want to put Union Arena at a C tier for right now. I enjoyed it. And it has room to grow. It could one day be a B or an A game, but I really hope not because I'm a Digimon player and Bandai needs to stop.
Bandai needs to focus on Digimon and stop adding more card games to their roster like Union Arena.
So we give Union Arena an F tier.
No, we're giving it a C tier, Alec.
All right, so those are, guys, a quick few honorable mention games that only one of us has played, but the other one hasn't.
Yeah, so I can't talk about the first one he's got here.
So I want to mention Rush Duels. I find it to be a lot of fun. Yeah. I really wish we can get the paper version here.
It's called Rush Duel because you're just kind of throwing things out and attacking almost every turn. No one's really holding much back in Rush Duels because to hold back means that you're not doing anything and you can be falling behind if that happens.
My next game, though, is Lorcana. Alex hasn't played it, so he can't really speak on it.
Sorry.
Lorcana is it's a Disney card game, so literally any property that Disney owns can be in Lorcana. Mickey Mouse, Captain Hook, Peter Pan, Cinderella, anybody. Gameplay-wise, it does feel like Magic Light, and that kind of makes it a little boring for me. But just like with Union Arena, the fun of Lorcana is waiting for your favorite characters in like TV shows and movies to show up in the game. Once I can give this one a rating just because it is here and I have played it, I will give Lorcana I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C ranking.
I want to talk about Altered TCG. This is a trading card game that only came out like a couple weeks ago. I think it's only 2 weeks old. And I'm only talking about it because I did have a chance to test it out when my store was given an advanced look at Altered. I was able to see how the gameplay worked and it was actually really different. Every card in Altered TCG has multiple types of it, where usually there's there can be a highlighted number or text on a card that's unique to that version of it. That is different from the lower rarity version, where this card can be played for 1 less than that card, or this card's ability is just a slight bit stronger than the original card. So the actual
characteristics of the same card can be different?
Yes. And the way that they make bank off that is that every card in the game has a QR code. And the QR code system lets you also lock in any cards you open in your packs and put them into your online library of cards on their website.
Yeah. So you only need 1 and then they'll just send you the playset.
I'd give it a D. It's too fresh. It's way, way too fresh to give it a real rating here.
But you enjoyed it, so it should be a C.
Look, you gave Lorcana a C, and at least Lorcana's been out for a couple months.
Okay, fair enough.
So I don't want to like put them on the same level like that.
Fair.
But I did like it, and I think if you hear about Altered, you should probably give it a shot yourselves. See what you think.
But all right, guys, these are our favorite card games and how we rank them. Did we do well? Did we do your game dirty? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and what would you rank these games? Or what would you rank the games we didn't mention?
And that's all we got for you guys. We will see you in the next one.
Pass turn.